Hi, welcome to another lesson on bite-sized math made easy. Today's lesson is about fraction of numbers and shapes. This is a continuation of lesson 7, fraction and division. In the previous lesson, we looked at fractions of numbers for simple fraction, all right, where the numerator has a value of 1. Let's look at the same example from the previous lesson. 1 over 5 of 20. So, what's a fifth of 20? We studied that to find the answer, we have to take 20, divide it to 5 equal groups, right? And number 1 here represents what's the value in one of the group. So in one of the group, the value is 4, right? So we found out that to get the answer, we could simply take 20 and divide it by 5 to get a value of 4. But what if the numerator has a value more than 1? That is what we're going to learn today. Okay, a slight modification of the problem. What if the question asks you to find the value of 3 over 5 of 20? Alright, so it's similar. We still have to divide it to 5 equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But since the numerator has a value of 3 instead of 1, so we looked at 3 groups, not just 1, but 3. Okay, so this group here. Alright, so we add them up, 4, 4, and 4. So the answer, 3 over 5 of 20 is 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12. Okay, let's take a closer look at this problem. Okay, 3 over 5 of 20. In the previous lessons, we learned that 3 over 5 means there are 3 1/5ths in it. So another way of writing it is you find the value for 1 over 5th of 20 first, and then you multiply that answer by 3. So 1 over 5th of 20 is 20 divided by 5. You get a value of 4, and then you multiply it by 3 to get the answer 12. Let's look further. Now that we understand the principle behind fraction of numbers, let's look at a faster way of finding the solution. Okay, so let's look at this. 3 over 5 of 20. The faster way of doing it is this. First step is 20 divide by 5, get the answer 4, and you multiply it with the numerator. 4 multiplied by 3, you get 12. If they don't tell you what's the number you're finding a fraction of, how do you get the answer? What you do is take 12, multiply it by 5, you get 60, and you divide it by 3. 60 divided by 3, you get 20. Alright? Okay, what if the problem, fraction of numbers problem, does not give you the denominator? What do? Okay, it's like this. You take the numerator, multiply it by 20. 3 multiply 20, you get 60. 60 divide by 12, you get the answer 5. Okay, what if the problem does not give you the numerator? how do you get the answer? Okay, it's 5 multiplied by 12, you get 60. 60 divided by 20, you get 3. Okay, so it's complicated, right? When do you divide? When do you multiply? You might get confused and use the wrong operators and get a wrong answer. Okay, so there's a simpler way to find the solution for each of this problem. Okay, let's look at the first one. Similar to the previous lesson, we can find the answers to these problems by using equivalent fraction. Alright, so I'm going to write my first equation here, 3 over 5, and then the other one, this will the total represents the denominator, 20, right? So thus, question mark here, will be the answer to our problem. So you look at 5 and 20, you know the relationship is 5 multiplied by 4, you get 20, and similarly you have to multiply by 4 to the numerator since they are equivalent fractions. 3 multiplied by 4, you get 12, right? And that's the answer. Simple. So you could use equivalent fraction for the other problems too. Let's look at this. Similar. We write 3 over 5 and we put, we don't know this, 20. So that's the unknown at the bottom, and the numerator for the equivalent fraction is 12. So 3 and 12, the relationship is multiplied by 4. So for equivalent fraction, we also multiply the denominator by 4. You get 20, which is the answer. The other problem, we need to find the denominator. 3 over, we leave this blank, equals to 12 over 20. Okay, let's look at the relationship. 12 and 3, you divide it by 4. 12 divided by 4, you get 3. So for equivalent fraction, we take the denominator 20, divide that by 4 also. 20 divided by 4, you get 5, which is the answer. Let's look at the next one. The numerator is the unknown, right? So we leave that blank, put the denominator 5, and this one 12 over 20. Look at the relationship, 5 and 20. How do you get 5 out of 20? So you 20 divided by 4, you get 5. So the numerator, we divide it by 4 also. 12 divided by 4, you get 3. And that's the answer. Okay, so as you can see, a more easier way where you don't tend to do a mistake will be to use equivalent fractions to find out your answers. Alright, before we go and look at fraction of shapes, so far we looked at fraction of numbers. Before we go to fraction of shapes, let's look at the answers to worksheet 007. Alright, so these are the answers to question 1. Hope you got all of them correct. Answers to question number 2, there are 10 parts to it. Question number 3. Answers to question number 4, again there are 10 parts to it. Question 5. And finally, question 6. So hope all of you tried the problems and you got all of them right. If you have problems answering some of these questions, please leave a comment below and I'll try to explain the solution. All right. Okay, we have looked at fraction of numbers. We will also look at fraction of shapes. We did this in the very first lesson, some basic shading of shapes and figures to represent the fraction. Let's take an example of showing 2/9 or hatching 2/9 on the figure. You can see that the figure has already been divided to 9 equal parts. So to represent 2/9, all we have to do is just hatch 2 of the 9 parts. Alright, so the hatched area represent the fraction 2/9. Okay, what if we were asked to shade 2/3 using the same figure, right? But we see that the figure has been divided to 9 equal parts and not 3. So how do we do that? Okay, so what we have to do is convert the division instead of 9 to 3 equal parts, something like this. Using the same figure, right? It is still a square, the shape is the same, the size is the same, but instead of 9 equal parts, we divide them to 3 equal parts. Okay? Alright, now that we have done that, we can just shade 2 of it. That's 1/3 and 2/3. Okay? The other way to do this is by using equivalent fraction, right? So we have 2/3, but we see the figure has been divided to 9 equal parts. So 2/3 equals to, the total is 9. There are 9 equal pieces here. So the total is 9. Right? So using equivalent fraction, what's the relationship between 3 and 9? You multiply it by 3. So for the numerator, we also multiply by 3 to find the equivalent fraction. So we know that 2/3 equals to 6/9. Now we have a fraction where the denominator matches the number of parts. So since there are 9 parts, all we have to do is shade 6 of them. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay? If you compare this with what we did earlier, you'll see that the area hatched is the same. Right? Next, we'll look at a couple of sample problems. Okay, sample problem number 1. 42 kids took part in a kilometer run. 5/7 of the kids finished the race. How many kids did not complete the race? Okay, so we have the total here, which is 42. And we have the fraction 5/7. So that's 5/7. Okay, we're going to find out what's the value of 5/7 of 42 first. Okay, right? So I'm going to use equivalent fraction. So 5/7 equals to, the total is 42, right? So 7 multiplied by 6, I get 42. Equivalent fraction, 5 multiplied by 6, 30. Now, 30 is the number of kids who finished the race, okay? But the question is, how many kids did not complete the race, right? So the total number of kids is 42. You subtract the number of kids which completed the race. So 42 minus 30, you get 12. So these are the number of kids who did not complete the race. Okay, sample problem number 2. Hatch 5/8 of the shape below. Alright, so it's easier if the shape or the figure has been divided to 8 equal parts, but it's divided only to 4 equal parts. Okay, so we use equivalent fraction again, right? So I have 5/8 and the total number of parts is 4. I need to find out what's the equivalent fraction so that I can shade it accordingly. Alright, so I look at 4 and 8. How do I get 4 from 8? I divide it by 2, right? So to find the numerator here, I have to do the same. 5 divided by 2. So what's the value for 5 divided by 2? Okay, so I'll do what we learned earlier. 5 divided by 2. So you get 5 divided by 2. There are 2 2's. 2 times 2, 4. 5 minus 4, 1. Remember how we relate fractions to divisions and how we can get mixed numbers from it? So from this calculation, we know that this is the whole number for the mixed number. So that's 2. This number here, that's the numerator, 1. And the number you divide by, this number here, will be the denominator. So 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, right? So all we have to do is shade 2.5. Okay, so that's 1. That's 2. And we go the halfway point. Alright, so this represents 5/8. Okay? Alright, so that's the sample problems. I want all of you to practice what you learned by solving the problems on the worksheet. Okay, I've got 7 problems for y'all in worksheet 008. This is the first one. Problem number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5 relates to fraction of shapes. Number 6. And number 7. Alright, that's my lesson for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something new. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Until then, stay safe, take care, and goodbye.